Welcome to Cherry Street Investor Education with Kavita Baratake, passive income coach and founder of Cherry Street Investments. Education that is designed for you to take control of your financial life. Join us to learn how you can create multiple passive income streams, diversify your portfolio, save on your taxes, and much more. Become a better investor and fast track your financial goals. Here's your host, Kavita Baratake.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you guys for joining. I'm Kavita Baratake from Cherry Street Investments. I'm excited to have Vivian Yip, founder of Hestia Hospitality. We're going to talk today about midterm rentals. Most of you might be landlords on here. If you're not, then this is a great place to start and become a landlord. I've been a landlord for the last, 12, 13 years now. And like I mentioned earlier, I have about 11 rentals in Austin and San Antonio, which probably make about maybe net effective a couple of $1,000 after all expenses, which is not too much considering the amount of headache 11 rentals give you, right? So I'm super interested in this topic on midterm rentals and see how I can increase my cash flow on an existing rental that I already have. And I hope you guys learn a lot. And we have Vivian Yip, and I'm excited because she does this for a living now. She used to be working for Apple as an iPhone manager. When did you quit, Vivian? About 20?
I was a program manager, so I was responsible for launching iPhones from an operational perspective.
Okay.
And I left my corporate job in April of 2021.
Oh, okay. That's fairly recent then.
Yeah.
So she's kind of living proof that real estate does help people. You know, she started this as a side hustle, and I think she started in short-term rentals and then went on to long-term rentals. She and her husband work on this business, and it really took off. And she now not only manages Hestia, I think it's corporate rentals, austin.com, if you want to visit her. She not only does that, but she also leads a group called Invest Her. And she's big into promoting women to join real estate and, grow their business in real estate. So I'm excited to have Vivian on. Thank you, Vivian, for being here tonight.
Thank you so much for the invitation to be here. I'm excited to share with everybody just, how I've succeeded in the midterm rental space. One of my passions in life is helping people and real estate and hospitality. And now I have combined all three things together. And I feel like I'm in my dream. I want to say job, but it's not really a job. It's just a dream world. So thank you.
And clearly you're very good at decorating and interior design because I can see your background. So you're in the perfect role, I think.
Thank you. I was surprised at myself because I spent a lifetime behind spreadsheets. And if you were to compare my first flip to my last one, you'd be amazed at how far I've come.
That's awesome. Well, excited to hear what you have to share with the audience today. Just a quick disclaimer, always educational matters here. Please consult. We're not making any offers here. Just a few housekeeping rules. You will be on mute. Please raise your hand or otherwise type your question in the chat box if you have any questions or any issues with audio or visual. For questions, please find the Q&A box and ask those questions. They're just easier to track. And I always record this webinar. It should be recording right now, and link will be sent out within 24 hours. Also post everything on YouTube channel, and I'll share the channel link with you shortly here. If you can add my email to your whitelist so it doesn't go to spam or promotions, that would be great. It will come from Kavita at Cherry Street. A little bit about me. I started this company in 2019, much like Vivian, spent 20 years in technology and realized my passion was elsewhere. I started as a side hustle, did long-term rentals, and then got into multifamily and started helping more people get into real estate, invest into real estate passively, and create income. I also host regular webinars every 2 weeks, usually on these kind of topics, including all kinds of investments, taxation, asset protection, and other topics. I'm also a registered, I'm a life insurance broker. So I structure high cash value life insurance policies in this concept called infinite banking. I have a Facebook group. It's called Purely Passive Investor Group. You're welcome to join us there. I post a lot of financial education and related topics, and as well as these webinars. So please feel free to join us there. Also, Cherry Street Investor Education, it's a YouTube channel. You can find all of these recordings from every event that I put together so far, probably about 120 webinars on Cherry Street Investor Education. I also do short videos. Please subscribe so I can grow this channel. It's bit.ly Cherry Street, but if you look Cherry Street Investor Education, you should be able to find me. We have some upcoming webinars on creative financing, how you can still buy deals in this market despite increasing interest rates with Dan Diaz. He focuses a lot on seller financing and creative financing. I also have a webinar, which is a very interesting topic on special needs trust planning. So if you have special needs kids or you have friends who have special needs kids, let them know about this one. I will be sharing that topic in a few weeks. If you have any other topic suggestions, please let me know. I'm happy to bring the right expert to come talk to you. A little bit about me, moved from Bangalore, India. I have a master's in computer science from A&M, and incidentally, my daughter is going to UT Austin, so I'll have an A&M and a Longhorn at the same table on Thanksgiving Day, so that'll be interesting. I spent 20 years in tech, real estate investor, financially independent since 2019, and full-time real estate investor since then. Just do a lot of different kinds of investments. I don't think I need to waste much time. Some of the deals that I'm in right now actively. And current open opportunities, we have an ATM fund with a bonus round. So we have 21% IRR on this and great cash flow investment. If you're looking for a cash flowing opportunity, which will pay you 12% plus a year, this is a great one. Get in touch with me. We are closing out the fund on the 22nd of this month. So we'll have it open for a few weeks, and also a car wash fund with quarterly cash flow as well as equity growth. I'm going to hand this off to Vivian now to talk about midterm rentals, why we're here today. I'm excited to have her on. Thank you, Vivian, again for being here.
What a journey, Kavita. I think a lot of us have something to look up to.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, I'm going to steal the screen now.
Yes.
And all right, so let's have a little fun. Put in the comments, yes, if you're curious about my lack of hair. And I, for some reason, cannot see, oh, here it is. I cannot see any comments, which is strange. Oh no, here it is. So yes, put yes if you're curious about my hair.
All right, I'll raise. I'm curious. Go ahead.
Well, I guess nobody's curious because no one's saying yes. Okay. Well, oh, Amy said yes. Only one person's curious. All right. Well, I promise.
Totally beautiful. I'll go with that.
Thank you. Well, I promise I will go into that, but I'm going to tell you at the end. So you have to listen to my webinar first. So presenting Hestia Corporate Rentals. I am the founder, and I'd like to tell you a little bit more about how I came to this. But the name Hestia, if you're not familiar with Greek mythology, is the Greek goddess of hospitality, hearth, and home. So as a child, I really enjoyed Greek mythology, and I really loved, the Minervas and the Aphrodites. And when I was thinking about what name I could brand my company, this name really attached to me. So I also thought about what would the logo look like? And I thought, Hestia, goddess, it's got to be a crown. And I really thought that the lotus kind of represents the Asian feel and also kind of looks like a crown. So that's kind of how I came up with the logo. So if you like it, say yes. All right, so a little bit about me. So I know I look a little bit different in this picture, but I went to the University of Toronto. I have a Master of Science in Operations and Supply Chain from the University of Liverpool. I grew up in Canada, primarily in Vancouver and Toronto, with a small stint in Calgary. And I also spent part of my high school years in Hong Kong. I spent 10 years in Chicago. When I relocated there, I was working at a company called Tetra Pak. Everybody knows Tetra Pak, but they don't know it. It's the juice box company. And I've loved traveling. So I moved to Austin in 2014. I love traveling. I've been to over 30 countries, and I consider myself a serious foodie. I have a husband, 2 wonderful preteen kids, a little smelly, but wonderful kids. And I have 2 dogs. In the last 20 years, I've spent in supply chain and operations. And with the last corporate stint with 7 years at Apple, and I was on the AMR operations team where I was responsible for launching the iPhone 12 during a pandemic. So I had a really great career at Apple, wonderful company to work for. While I was there, I won 2 national awards in continuous innovation. One was for global inventory management. It was a global process. It continues to save the company millions a year, and an obsolete stock program. And then in 2018, I decided that I wanted to kind of look ahead and see where my life is going to be. I didn't see myself being in corporate forever. So I started thinking about what resources or skills that I have that I could put towards doing a side hustle. And because my husband's very handy, I'm really analytical, really terrible at design back then. We thought, let's just give it a try, because if you never try, you never start. If you never start, you never change. So we started flipping houses in 2018. We found a great mentor who, walked us through the process and taught us a lot of things. And I was able to quit my job in April of 2021 after flipping, I think at that time we were already at number 13. And so I left the corporate world 2 years ahead of schedule and pursued real estate and hospitality at the same time. So as Kavita mentioned, I do co-lead investor here in Austin. We are a global group. If you're interested in networking and mingling with other women here in Austin, or even in your own chapter or in your own region, there's investor groups all over the place, and you can find them through meetup.com. And the goal of the organization is to help women live a financially free and balanced life.
Vivian, I just want to comment. How did you do it in 3 years? That's impressive. Like 2018 to 2021, you actually retired. Or left your corporate job.
I wouldn't say I'm retired, but I'll go into the reasons why at the end.
All right.
So if you're into watching, house flipping shows or whatnot, I thought it'd be fun to document our journey. So you can scan the QR code and find our YouTube channel. And we've completed more than 25 projects, and we kept whatever we could afford, and we threw furniture in it and rented it out. So in our portfolio today, we have 2 long-term rentals, 1 short-term rental, and a few other that we manage and co-host. So let's talk about my entry into hospitality. The interesting story is when I was 17, I was really lucky to work at a hotel in Hong Kong. And I was probably one of the only people in the hotel that was fluent in English. And I, had a chance to really be in a wonderful position as a concierge and meeting with guests. And I just learned to love hospitality there, especially with the English speaking guests. They were always just astonished how well I spoke English. And I don't know, just had a really great time telling people about Hong Kong and all the things that they had to offer. So fast forward, I always knew that I wanted to be in hospitality, but I couldn't afford a hotel. So what I can afford in this day and age is an Airbnb. So this particular property, I was able to find in Round Rock, Texas. This was in 2019. I bought it from a wholesaler. It was super distressed, and I picked it up for $185,000. It's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, and I was able to turn that around and put furniture in it, renovate it, put furniture in it. And I got my first booking in July, and I ran it successfully until the pandemic hit in March of 2020. So if anybody here is an Airbnb host since that time, you'll know that Airbnb was doing a lot of cancellations on behalf of hosts, no matter what your cancellation policy was. And I was terrified because at the end of the day, I have a mortgage to pay here, and I couldn't afford for Airbnb to cancel. And I was not sure how long they would continue doing this. So by March of 2020, I was like, I need to figure out another strategy. So I thought, let's just take it off of Airbnb. Let's snooze the listing. Let's try this thing called Furnish Finder that my friend told me about. So I put on Furnish Finder and I used the MLS as well to market it. And lo and behold, I got a 3-month contract for a family that was building a house in Liberty Hill, which is a northern suburb here in Austin. Excuse me. And then right after that, I got a 7-month contract from a group of construction workers that were doing projects out here from Dallas. So I thought, like, wow, this is great. I mean, I only have to hear from them maybe once a month, if even, and I'm still cash flowing. Excuse me. So by May of 2021, I decided it was time to quit my job. So I actually sold this property to a California investor, and I quit my job. So that's how I started into the hospitality furnished rental business. But let's switch pace for a little bit and talk about what's happening in the Austin Airbnb market. So this is a report from InsideAirbnb.com. Today's Airbnb environment, there's almost 14,000 listings here in Austin. And that is a lot of listings considering how small our city is. And the number of them are operating as short-term rentals is about 87%. And you'll see in this chart here that most of them are operating as 2-day stays. And if you shift your eyes to the right, in here, you'll see that there are 12.6% of them operating as midterm rentals. So a total of 1,740. Now, this is not unique to Austin. I would say that if you looked in your own city, that you would probably see a lot of saturation as well, because I feel like everybody and their mother and brother and sister and aunt bought an Airbnb in 2020 and 2021. So, the occupancies are going down and the saturation's going up. And if you follow the news here in Austin, this document on the right was published on December 9th of 2022, where the city of Austin is going to clamp down on short-term rentals. The interesting thing is, 2 days ago, I was talking to my house manager who manages other properties, and she told me she had an inspector knock on her door on one of her properties that she manages. So it's happening. So you just need to be really cautious if you're operating without a permit. So Austin is highly permitted. There's only about 2,000 permits in our entire city. So that 11,000 is operating illegally. So if I had to see around corners, right, and predict what's going to happen in the future, we know that short-term rentals are highly saturated. We know that midterm rentals, or we're learning that midterm rentals are cash flowing, are more profitable than long-term rentals. But will midterm rentals become saturated as well if we start seeing any of these short-term rentals moving into the midterm space? If you think about it, most of these short-term rental operators, they've already invested in the property. They've already invested in the design, and they've already invested in the furniture and the amenities. So the next logical thing is not to take the furniture out and cash flow negative in this market. The next logical approach would be to start moving it into the midterm rental space. By doing that, you avoid all the permitting issues, right? And you can still cash flow. So why wouldn't they do that? So you can cash flow in a non-cash flowing market like Austin through midterm rentals. And I want to talk to you about how today. So let's talk about some of the advantages and disadvantages. In a midterm rental advantage, we have higher quality clientele. We have lower turnover. We have higher occupancy. And there's no additional short-term rental insurance required, at least not in the state of Texas. I had a drawn-out conversation with my insurance broker that takes care of all my properties. And he said that as long as you're operating as a 30-day stay, your standard regular property insurance holds. The last one is the most important to me, is the freedom of time. I found that since I've pivoted from a short-term rental into a midterm space, I'm on my phone a lot less, answering messages from guests a lot less. I literally only hear from them maybe twice a month, if even. Now, the disadvantage is that you can run into some tenancy issues, especially if you are in a non-landlord friendly state. But from talking to attorneys, they also indicated that short-term rentals have the same risks. As soon as they walk into your property, there is a risk. So, but with 30-day stays, you don't know there's a risk until they've stayed the full 30 days. Midterm rentals, you can also have lower revenue compared to short-term rentals, and they can also be expensive to furnish because some of your amenities just need to be higher quality. Let's do a quick case study. So this is a property that I picked up in North Austin. It's in Barrington Oaks, and I purchased it distressed at $200,000. It's a 2-bedroom, 2.5-bath townhouse, and I rehabbed it. All in cost was about $88,000. And then when I took it to the bank and refinanced it with a DSCR loan, which by the way was 4.5% at the time, I wish I got more. I was able to refinance it at $405,000, and the bank gave me about $24,000 out as a cash out refinance. So tax-free money is my favorite kind of money. In terms of what to do with it, I started thinking about market rent. Market rent in this area is about $2,000, but the midterm rental rate was $3,800. So between the mortgage, property tax, and insurance and utilities, I could cash flow $1,403 on this one property. That's a whole lot better than cash flowing. I think it was $74 after my mortgage bill with this property, or sorry, $2,047. So midterm rental seemed like a good fit for me. And I already had some furniture that I was able to repurpose into this property. So I said, why not just repeat that? And so I did. So now I have this property that you just saw. I purchased another distressed property, threw furniture in it, and I cash flow $1,700 on that one. I have this duplex here, this one and this one. These are a duplex, and each of these sides cash flows $2,800 each side. I have this studio that is in the back of my personal home, so I house hack, and I get $1,800 from travel nurses there. And this is a duplex I recently purchased that is next to these other 2 units here. And that one is a brand new unit. I'm just getting that started, and I've had a travel nurse in there for several months now, and I'm only cash flowing $700 per month, but I'm willing to wait this out and see how it plays out. So I want to note that combined cash flow on these 6 properties is $11,200, but that is just through my marketing, through Airbnb and my network. I haven't even considered the insurance strategy here yet because they've been fully occupied and I haven't had a chance to place an insurance contract in there yet. Once you get insurance contracts, they can be extremely lucrative, and all these properties exceed 90% occupancy. So some of the midterm rental essentials, I get asked all the time, how are midterm rentals different from short-term rentals? The number one thing for me is really great beds. When someone is staying at your midterm rental, they're staying for 30 days, maybe even up to a year sometimes, depending on the damage on their home or what their individual situation is. So you really want to focus on great beds. If you live in the Austin area, I know a fantastic husband and wife combo that buys beds by the truckload. They're undeliverables, and she sells like $2,500 beds for $600. It's amazing. You need a dedicated workspace. A lot of these people work from home or are digital nomads. So you want to make sure you have desk space, a good chair. And if you want to be a little extra, feel free to put in a monitor as well. I personally put in ultra high-speed internet. I think this is a really important thing. Families are so connected to their electronics these days. A couple of weeks ago, I was helping one of my guests solve an internet issue. So I called the internet company and they said, oh, they have 11 devices connected. I was like, how do they have 11 devices connected? It's just 2 people. But, people are very connected. So having that extra bandwidth is really important. The one major difference here is also dressers and lots of hangers. So people are not living out of a suitcase anymore. They're going to need a place to put their stuff. So definitely have dressers and hangers. I like to put blackout curtains because, some people like to sleep in, or if you host travel nurses, a lot of them, work the night shift and sleep during the day. And, maybe even some noise machines, right? That's a nice little amenity. It only costs, $10 to buy at Bed Bath & Beyond. And, adding that is just a nice feature. all the properties should be fully equipped. You need to have your cooking pans and casserole dishes, blenders, air fryers, cookie sheets. Some people even like to bake. I had a guest that stayed with me for 3 months while they were building a home, and they brought their own KitchenAid mixer. And I thought, wow, is that something I should provide? I don't know. So far, no one's asked me for it yet. But, if you want to be extra, that's definitely something you can put in your property as well. Definitely want to include easy parking or free parking. Washer and dryer is definitely a must. And a bonus secret sauce for you tonight in midterm rentals is you should be pet friendly, because 80% of the guests that come in midterm rentals have pets, and only 20% of hosts allow them. So you're opening yourself to way more opportunities if you are a pet friendly home. So about the Hestia brand, all my properties feature what, I just talked about. We have free parking, stylish interior, ultra clean spaces, and maintained, fully equipped homes, dedicated workspaces, ultra high speed internet, luxury sleep experiences, exceptional hospitality. Why not wrap all of these wonderful things into a brand? Because I know that not every host is offering these things. So if I can be recognized as a brand and stand out from all those other 1,700 midterm rental listings, let's put a logo on it. So I did, and I'm in the midst of trademarking as well. But let's look at brand positioning. Oh, by the way, Hestia, my goal is to become national. So I would like to be the national brand for midterm rentals. So if we look at brand positioning, this is Austin data. These are the 3 big players in the Airbnb space. They focus on short-term rentals and high price, right? Then we have Furnish Finder, that's a midterm rental and focuses on mid price. And then you have these 2 midterm rental companies in the medium price. We have Landing, which, if you're familiar with them, they actually do about 99% apartments. But Hestia, our differentiating factor is that we're only offering whole homes. And as far as I know, there's nobody else out there as a brand offering the same thing. And when I went to the Bigger Pockets conference in October, Airbnb bookings, they indicated that Airbnb bookings account for 25% of the days booked, which I think is a huge, huge number. So let's look at how I'm getting bookings, right? I know a lot of people. I think that's one of my strengths. So about 43% of my bookings are coming from people that know what I do. And I spend a lot of time having coffee, having one-on-ones with people, just networking a lot. The second thing is I do get 50% of my bookings from Airbnb. This is a rough estimate because at the end of the day, Airbnb has the most clout and the most leverage and the biggest marketing spend. I do have my properties on Vrbo, but I can tell you I've had less than a handful of bookings on Vrbo. And then finally on Furnish Finder, it's kind of a hit and miss in this market. I know that most investors in the Austin market need more than $1,400 a month on their booking. And unfortunately, Furnish Finder is catered directly to travel medical professionals who typically have a budget of less than, $1,600, I would say. I'm trying to reach into the $1,800 to $2,000 mark on my studio, but I would say most of the time, Furnish Finder has a lower level budget. And I hear it all the time from people that do midterm rentals that they pay the $99 fee to Furnish Finder and they're not getting any hits. So then I started thinking about how can I help others? I have a great network. I can't control their Airbnb bookings, but I have a great network. That's a huge part of my business. We know that Furnish Finder charges $99 and most hosts aren't getting bookings because they want $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 for their place. We know that Airbnb charges fees that can be quite expensive. For the host, it's 3%. For the guests, it's at least 14.2%. We also know that the Airbnb calendar has tons of holes in it. So this is your typical calendar where Your weekends are booked, and then your weekdays are open. And we already talked about this. It's already saturated. And then we have landing, right? But they're apartments. So let's just take a quick peek, though, at the Airbnb fees. So this is one particular guest. They paid $119 for 33 nights. Their guest fee alone was $434, and the host paid $122. On the second example, it was a little bit of a higher dollar stay, and the guest stayed for 58 nights, and they paid $953 in service fees, and the host paid $269 in service fees. And I was like, gosh, I could do so much with that $269 as a host. I'd buy myself a nice dinner. I don't know about you. And especially the guest, the guest that's staying with you, they're going through a lot. Whatever their situation is, I'm sure they'd like to spend that $953 elsewhere. So I came up with a vision. What if we had one place to easily find beautiful corporate rentals, be easy to do business with, and I could leverage my network and relationship marketing to drive my website to top of mind? What if I could partner with HR companies and relocation companies and insurance companies, remodeling companies, just be like that local key person of influence in this space? And then how can we organically become the top Google site when they do a corporate search in Austin? So my mission today is to be the #1 location for corporate rental searches in Austin, Texas, and be the recognized brand for midterm rentals. So let's just take a look at the opportunities, right? So we know that we have job growth and unemployment data coming from the Austin Chamber of Commerce, and this was published just on January the 24th. Austin added almost 51,000 jobs with a growth of 4.2% in the 12 months ending in December. And then if we just kind of skip down to the bottom here, once Austin does a seasonal adjustment, the unemployment rate is only 2.9% in December, and that's unchanged since November. 2.9% unemployment rate in Austin, that's 1% below the national average. I don't care what anybody says about this market here, it's still booming. We're having a soft landing, but I'm still very bullish about this market. So, whole home rentals, right? We know nobody is out there doing this as a brand. We could capture those corporate rentals. We can capture relocations, insurance contracts, construction teams, film crews, digital nomads, people doing remodels. We have a lot of old houses here, and people are tearing them out and rebuilding into something really cool, and also new builds. And you may have heard this before, but I really believe this, that the riches are in the niches. And these are just examples of the homes that are on board on my website. So the website is corporaterentalsaustin.com, and here is the value proposition. We have now, in just less than 6 months, become on first page of Google searches. Oh, I skipped the first bullet. I'm so sorry. We're a hyper-local website, and I've handpicked properties to come on board to our website. That way we know that every property meets the same standard that Hestia wants. We're on page 1 of corporate rentals in Austin searches already on Google in less than 6 months. Every member that comes on board gets a $1,600 rental agreement that I paid for with an attorney. I worked with an eviction attorney here in Austin to develop a midterm rental specific contract that has the correct language in it. So I'm going to caution everyone here that this document, even though it's developed by an attorney, is not ironclad because there's no such thing. But at least if you were to come into a situation where you need to call the police, you now have a document that has the correct language that indicates that this is not a civil suit and that they should be able to help you, just like a hotel owner can kick someone out if they're not paying. Okay. I've created one website to book direct with established Airbnb hosts. So we're only working with people that have a hospitality mindset, that really care about their properties, they're well maintained, and really like to work with guests. I want a website that connects guests directly with hosts, so we both save money on both sides. And I really want the host to gain 100% control of their booking. If you remember my example back in the pandemic, when Airbnb was canceling my bookings for me, that was painful for a lot of hosts around the world. So now with this website that I've created, you can connect directly with the guest and you have full control of your booking. Your listing is automatically updated to my website. Whenever you make a change to your listing on Airbnb, it auto-populates the things into my website as well. It's very low touch. So it's not like Furnish Finder if you're already using on it. If you're already using Furnish Finder, where you have to go and update something on Furnish Finder and update Airbnb. Once you update Airbnb, my website picks up all your changes automatically, so there's no touch. I'm also doing what's called a no saturation model. And this is why I'm calling it a membership as opposed to a subscribership. This is because I have 5 properties in 78759. I don't want another 78759 property competing with me. And at the end of the day, I want to make sure that I'm bringing value to people that sign up for my website so that they know that I'm just not letting everybody on board, that I will work on their behalf when it comes to getting those contracts. So that I know that if someone's looking for a particular property in South Austin, I'm only working with a small network there. I'm not trying to go after everybody. We have an acceptance process as well. You go through, I read through most of the reviews. I'll even walk through the properties and make sure that, the property is well maintained and it's not just a picture from 10 years ago. We'll also do marketing on your behalf. I have 2 VAs that work for me, and we're scouring for corporate relocation opportunities. We're scouring Furnish Finder opportunities. We're looking in Craigslist. We're doing lots of different things to try and match your property with our contract, with a contract. And whenever we get those insurance requests, you get first right of refusal if you're a member on my website. So I think that brings a lot of value to people, considering if they're operating in the Airbnb space where it's just everybody on there. So I'm trying to make it more like a membership. So let's take a look at the insurance claim process, right? So you have a fire, then the family and their pet is displaced. The insurance adjuster shows up and says, okay, we'll contact the relocation team, and the relocation team starts scouring their database. And then their database will probably come up with very little searches because there aren't very many whole home rentals. And there's a lot of problems with holes in the calendar when they're trying to look through, some of them look through Airbnb listings. So the first place they put them is in a hotel. But, I have 2 kids, 1 big dog, 1 little dog, and a husband. I do not want to be in a hotel. What if we can skip this hotel process and become the first destination for these displacements? Because at the end of the day, we have a growing inventory all across the area, and we have 30 properties and we're growing. And we've only been around for about 2.5 months. So I'm consistently working on that and developing and getting more inventory with Airbnb Superhosts all across the city. So the strategy here is strength in inventory, where we can rely on the quality, responsiveness, reliability, and hospitality of those properties that are being rented to the displaced guest. So if you're in Austin, you can get your property featured here on a beautifully curated website, created entirely from a private portfolio of real estate investors that are passionate about the hospitality space. And unlike Furnish Finder, which targets travel nurses, we're targeting a higher income clientele or higher budget clientele who are willing to pay more than $3,500 a month. In fact, I just got an insurance booking today for 2 to 3 months for $5,500. And I just helped another family relocate. They called me on Saturday. I placed them the same day in one of our properties in University Hills, and they're paying $3,000 a month. So, you're not going to get the same kind of experience when you're on a site like Furnish Finder. And Airbnb is costly to use for both host and the guest. So let's take a look at what the website looks like. I've actually just recently changed the background, but we feature all the properties on here, and you can actually search by zip code. Because at the end of the day, the user experience is they want to be close to their work, or they want to be close to their schools, or maybe they want to be close to their home if they've been displaced. It's really important one of the things that I'm trying to do right now, and I'm working with the development team, is to be able to put in an address and find homes that are close to that address. But we're not quite there yet. But given that I have this continuous innovation mindset, I'm going to continue pushing for that because I know for sure that that's what they want. So my website will pick up all your amenities. It'll pick up the number of bedrooms, how many guests, if pets are allowed or not. And you can put in your arrive and depart dates. And then the blue and green button there, you can contact the host directly, either through WhatsApp or through email. And then down at the bottom, there's a map that kind of shows you, or it shows the amenities first, and there's a map that shows you where the property is located. And then again, the calendar, so you can see that it's open. So again, I'm developing this brand strategy, and I encourage you to do the same in your area if you're doing multiple properties, but for me, it's different because I have a platform now where I'm selling a membership for anybody that meets these Hestia brand requirements. You get listed, you get to be part of our strategic partnership program. You can get direct bookings, which I'm helping constantly all the time. You get to stand out from other listings through branding, right? You can buy a branding package that has a cushion and a coaster and a shopping bag, and you include that in all of your Airbnb listings. And then over time, people are going to consistently see a brand that keeps appearing in the midterm rental space. And then finally, I think this one's a big one. You get that rental agreement. That rental agreement can be a big one because that could be the definition or the defining factor on whether or not you can kick out your guest. I do have prerequisites. You must be an Airbnb superhost. You need to have an active Airbnb listing. We'll need your iCal and Verbo calendar exported. And I put an asterisk here because other people use other marketing websites, and we're going to continue developing, adding that capability. But for now, we can only pick up these two calendars. You need to be on WhatsApp. At the end of the day, we do get international clients as well that use WhatsApp a lot. We'll need a booking email address. And if you already have a direct booking link, feel free to put it in, and we will connect that guest directly to your booking site. So again, it's a five-fold strategy, right? A brand strategy, being recognized for what you can offer. Desaturation by not letting anybody on your website. Relationship business. Kavita will know that her and I are both very well networked people. I mean, your network is your net worth. And I really want to share this with people that are on my website, because at the end of the day, that's what I love doing, is problem solving. And if someone has a problem with, finding a furnished rental, I'm committed to try and helping to figure that out. Another thing you want to know about midterm rentals, though, is that an open calendar is what's going to help you land those long, lucrative contracts. So if you need to decide whether or not you're going to be in the midterm space or in the short-term space. If you want to do the midterm space, I would say definitely operate fully in the midterm space. And if you have vacancies in between, then you should operate as a short-term rental in those open spaces in between. And then finally, this is sort of my strategy here, is just flooding the insurance databases with the brand and the website. Because now that we have an inventory of 30 properties, as the relocation specialists continue to look for housing, they're going to keep coming across and finding that I have 30 properties available. So who are they going to come to next? It's going to be Corporate Rentals Austin. So this is a solution, midterm rentals, for both. It's for a solution for investors, right? We're increasing occupancy, we're increasing rental income, and with a lot less work. And I want to address the occupancy thing really quickly here. The occupancy thing is really important because, especially through low season, if you have a place that is not occupied because it's wintertime and you have a beach house, or whatever the situation is, and you have some kind of leak or disaster happening, wouldn't it be so great that someone's actually there before the home is destroyed? I think so. Just something to think about. And then finally, this is a solution for realtors as well. I know there's a lot of realtors that are joining us this evening, especially in the Austin area. You can help your clients save 14 to 16% by leading them to book directly with an Airbnb superhost. And we actually pay realtor commissions as well. So I invite anyone in the Austin area to become part of something really exciting. This is just an example of the postcard that I offer to, anybody really. I have a digital copy of this. I send this out to remodeling companies. I keep these in my car in case I ever meet an insurance adjuster. And I also can leave a copy in our extended stay corporate rentals so that people can take one with them and tell their friends about it. Because at the end of the day, referral business is the best kind of business. So I do have a marketing strategy, and that is to really get the word out there. I was a guest on Furnish Finders about a month ago talking about the Hestia brand. I've also appeared in a number of other podcasts, and I have several more scheduled for this year. You can follow us on TikTok, Facebook, and YouTube. On TikTok, it's just at Corporate Rentals Austin. On Facebook, it's the same as well. But if you want to just be part of an engaging group, I didn't put it here, but it's called Midterm Rental Wealth with Vivian Yip. So please join that group and we can share strategies and ideas, and I can answer any questions that I'm able to. And the exciting news is that coming in 2023, we are expanding to Dallas and Houston, and hopefully Chicago. So we're working on that right now. I mean, by we, I mean, I'm working on that right now. So really exciting things to come. My vision and dream is to really be able to expand this across the largest metropolitan cities in the US. And I hope you guys can see my brand across the board. This is our team right now. I actually have one person missing from here, but there's me, there's my husband, there's my VA. And then if you're in the Austin area, Jessica is a godsend. She is my house manager, and she's from stellarbnbatx.com. She's amazing. So I said I would talk to you about my hair, and this is something that I'm, grateful every day for, because I get stopped a lot where people say, "Wow, you have a beautiful head. Do you have cancer?" It's funny how direct some people are sometimes, and when I hear that, I always say that I'm so grateful that I have my whole health. I'm healthy. I just lost all my hair. So I have an autoimmune condition called alopecia universalis. It actually started as alopecia areata, which means it's bald spots, like small bald spots. But when I was launching the iPhone during a pandemic, it was probably one of the hardest jobs I've ever done, one of the hardest times in my life, just because of summertime, the kids were at home, they had nowhere to go, they were wasting their lives away on their iPads. I was, chained to my desk for 18 hours a day, 16 to 18 weeks straight. And after every WebEx meeting or Zoom meeting, I could just feel my hair tingle, and I would look down and there'd be piles of hair on the floor. So it was a very traumatic time for me to lose my hair. So, if there's anything, you could take away from this midterm rental wealth webinar, is that things happen for a reason. For me, my hair loss was my signal to move on and leave the corporate world. A lot of us do side hustles, and you're wondering like, oh, when is it time to leave to pursue my side hustle? You go through, and Kavita, you're shaking your head like you've gone through this process before. So, of course, I was going through this as well when I still had a full head of hair. But when I finally was able to look up from my computer and see myself in the mirror, I said, it's time. I cannot do this another single day. So I quit. And now I'm really excited to be able to combine my love of hospitality and real estate in one spot. And at the end of the day, I'm excited that my bald head has become part of my personal brand. I'm highly recognized everywhere I go. And, it's at the end of the day, I tell everyone this, that sometimes bad things or traumatic things happen, but you have to change your mindset. For me, I believe that my hair loss didn't happen to me, but it happened for me. So I invite you to be my guest if you ever need a midterm rental. If you're curious about the membership price, this is the introductory price of $499 per year. You get to take advantage of all these wonderful things. And I won't go too much into that because I know we have a larger audience than just Austin. And that's it. Any questions I can answer to anybody?
We have a lot of questions. First of all, I want to say, wow, thank you so much, Vivian, for all that amazing information. And more importantly, for sharing your story. Very touching. And want to say I relate a little bit because I suffered from alopecia areata, interestingly.
Oh, wow.
Yes, stress related. And it usually comes on with a lot of stress, right?
Yeah.
So it's interesting. I went through the same thing with my job and finally got to a point where I was losing wattles of hair. And I do have thick hair, not as much as I did, but yeah, it didn't get to universalis or totalis or whatever they call it, but I remember researching it and being terrified. And so I really, really understand what you might have gone through. And I'm just really, what's the right word here? I can't get words, but I'm happy that you changed that story from, hey, there's something negative happening. And then you switch that table and you're like, hey, this is my brand now. So that it does set you apart, right? It does become a brand for you, which is amazing. So kudos to you for kind of going through that. It's a hard thing to, as women, we attach so much self-worth to our hair and all the superficial things. I completely 100% understand. So amazing. Thank you so much. And Dinesh says, good perspective. Thank you. I wish I had the right words, but I'm just a little bit emotional right now. So thank you. All right. So we have a few questions. Let's take on a few questions here. Do you buy the furniture for each property? Is there, I assume so.
Yeah, I do. Yeah. I try to be smart about it though. I believe that midterm rentals really have to have great furniture. I've purchased a couple of Wayfair pieces and I hated them. They were very hard and poorly made. And I thought, what if I could just get a hold of a nice West Elm or Crate and Barrel couch off of Facebook Marketplace that's gently used, because there's plenty of people always moving, especially at the end of the month. That's the best time to pick up these deals, is to start scouring for Facebook Marketplace deals at the end of the month when people are moving out. And I found some really great furniture that way that are just gently used. People relocate all the time. And, you can, if you're going to spend $1,000 on a couch on Wayfair, I would say let's spend $1,000 on Facebook instead, because you can get a much better quality product.
Right. Don't buy IKEA furniture, right?
Oh gosh, assembling furniture is my worst nightmare. Not only do you have to get a truck, and then you have to load it, and then you have to build the furniture. And I was like, oh no, I'd rather buy it used, already built, because someone already built it for me.
Makes sense. All right. Good advice there. What financing advice can you give us ladies who show a loss on the tax return and do not have a W-2? I'm not sure. Do you know what she's talking about?
So she says she does not have a W-2, which I don't either. And you show a loss in your tax return. You can use a DSCR loan. That's a debt service coverage ratio loan, which basically utilizes your property as the rental income on the property to pay for the loan. So it's the debt service, and they basically do a ratio of usually 1.1 to 1.15, I think it is. So, you'll still need to put that 25% down. I do believe I heard it might be a little higher now with the way the market's going, but, feel free to reach out to me, and you can find me on LinkedIn. You can find me on Instagram or Facebook or TikTok or all those social media places. I can give you a couple of good DSCR lenders that I've worked with.
And what kind of rates are there? Like eights now? Probably.
Yeah, they're in the eights now, for sure. I'm really kicking myself for not buying more properties at 4.5%.
I know, right? I remember I wanted to refinance some of mine, and they were coming because I don't have a W-2 either, and they were coming in at 4.5 and 4.75. I'm like, yeah, I'm already at that. I don't really want to refi for that. And now I wish I had refied and pulled out some more cash.
Yeah.
But we felt like people with W-2s were getting under 3, and I'm like, I want to get that, but I couldn't at that time.
Yeah.
Do you ever have those? I think the question is, do you ever have these midterm rentals on the MLS? That's a good question.
I do. All of my properties, actually, not all, some of my properties on the MLS, I have been given the green light from all my founding members to place their properties on the MLS, and they are committed to paying the realtor a commission. It's a small commission of $200, but that's super reasonable. Not only is the realtor providing value and a problem-solving solution for their client, but the homeowner also has an opportunity to occupy their rental property.
Yeah, I think that's a win-win. Yeah. Is there a market for 6-month stays?
I believe so, but I mean, at the end of the day, timing and luck is everything because you never know where those insurance claims are coming. But there is a secret. The secret is to sign a 6-month lease with a 30-day notice to vacate.
Okay.
Can you hear my son back there? He's on a video game right now.
No,
okay,
we can't hear him.
Okay, good.
Okay, this is an interesting question. First of all, congratulations on your accomplishments and inspired by everything you shared. Absolutely. Do you plan to expand your midterm rentals to Poconos, Pennsylvania? I would be interested in joining if you would consider the Poconos area.
I have not, but I will take a note on that. I do have.
Poconos was a very vacation rental kind of, but maybe people go there for longer terms. I don't know.
Yeah, I think if vacation rental markets should probably stay vacation rental markets unless there is some kind of HOA restriction.
Right.
Yeah.
I thought people usually go to Poconos for vacations, but I might be wrong. They might have businesses there. And I had a question. Do you rent nurses by the room since you have to manage that $1,600 kind of range? Do you rent them by the room?
So I went down the rabbit hole of thinking about this because I get asked this a lot. And as I started diving deep into what the process looks like, it wasn't for me. And the reason is because you have one home and you might have 3 or 4 bedrooms, but it's 4 times the work, 4 times the rental agreements, 4 times the complaints, 4 times the background checks. And at the end of the day, I don't want to be in the middle of any kind of roommate disputes either. So I don't want to run a dormitory. I figured let's just rent it out to whole families, and that's what I like.
Makes sense. It seems like a lot of headache waiting to happen if people don't get along with each other.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. How do you go
involved too? There's more maintenance involved into room rentals because you typically need to send in a cleaner to kind of do an overall cleaning.
Do you charge for midterm rental cleaning? Like, I think that's sort of the process. Actually, this is a good follow-up question. How do you go about, what is your process for property cleaning of midterm rentals? What are your typical costs and expenses, and do you bill that back to the tenants?
So yes, you bill that back to the tenants, but this one is a process I'm still trying to solve. I've had guests that were really grateful for cleaners to come in mid-stay and they'll pay for it. I've had other guests push back and say, I'm a really clean person. Why should I pay for cleaning? It's sort of a case-by-case basis battle there. And at the end of the day, I've learned a few good phrases, and they say that, if you take advantage of our midterm rental cleaning, then you have a better chance of protecting your security deposit.
Makes sense.
I thought that was a great way to put it.
Yeah. All right. We have a few more questions. Okay. So we have a member of Hestia actually here.
We do.
who's giving some feedback on STF. Vivian and her network have been very effective in passing along leads and placing midterm guests. We love working with her.
Oh, thank you. Who said that?
Janelle Fondry.
Oh, I love Janelle.
Thank you, Janelle, for your feedback. Mohib asked, do you manage midterm rentals or thought about partnering with co-hosts to give the full turnkey experience?
I do manage some midterm rentals. I'm actually very selective with who I work with, just because my time is limited. So, I look at that from a case-by-case basis, but otherwise I do have really great people that I work with that are certainly capable of working as a co-host as effectively as I can, if not better.
All right. How do your clients pay you through your website? Through your website? If people don't have your website, then how do you expect to get paid for these midterm rentals?
They work directly with the guest and the
okay. So you just collect that yearly fee, but everything happens between the guest and the host. You just connect.
Correct.
Them.
And we're here for support.
And what about liability issues? Like, for example, Airbnb covers a lot of the liability which can arise when the guest is in the place. How do you handle that?
Well, unlike Airbnb, when you are hosting a midterm rental, you actually secure your own security deposit, right?
Gotcha.
Whereas Airbnb, they don't really collect a security deposit. If something goes wrong, you have to go and file a claim with Airbnb, which they may or may not deny. So in this case, in midterm rentals, when you work directly with the guest, you're in full control of your security deposit.
Do you collect like a month of security deposit or 2 months? Because you do have furniture and a lot more liability in a midterm rental business than it's a long-term rental. So what kind of security deposits do you collect?
So it depends. Most of my properties I collect 2 weeks, so about $2,000. In terms of the furniture coverage, my house insurance covers contents as well. And then I ask the renters to buy their own rental insurance, which is usually about $10 a month. And that'll cover things like their computers or their watches or whatever it is that they might lose, or a bike that gets stolen or whatnot.
So when you said your house insurance covers contents, do you add that on to your regular? Because it's not a part of your regular.
Yeah,
insurance.
I do add it onto my regular.
But
it's not very expensive.
But are the deductibles lower then? Because usually the deductibles are like 1%, let's say. So up to, let's say, if you have a $400,000 house, you might have a deductible of $4,000. So that makes it very invaluable. I mean, it's not very valuable.
Insurance policy. That's a good question. I don't know the answer to that.
Okay. All right. I'll quiz you on that later. And do you have them pay monthly, or how often do you collect the income from your tenants for the midterm rental?
So different hosts will run it different ways. I typically collect it every month, but I take their deposit in their first month up front, and then I collect monthly after that.
Gotcha. So this is an interesting question. Why require Superhost when you're arguing against Airbnb fees? Must be a better way to vet good hosts.
Well, I think that is sort of a loose rule for me. I consider myself a reasonable person. Airbnb Superhost just show that they have a track record, especially for someone that I've never met before. It shows they have a track record of hosting people and delivering an exceptional hospitality. However, I've brought people on my website before, like this one guy, he had a flip that turned into a flop, as I say. So he furnished it and we got it rented out right away. But he didn't have Airbnb Superhost status. He was completely new to Airbnb. But when I was talking to him, he let me know that he worked in hotels for 15 years. So, that's an exception for me. And I'm not going to prevent him from joining my website because he doesn't have that status. It's just a guidance. Let's call it that.
Gotcha. It makes sense. I mean, you want to preserve your brand and make sure that people are taking care of their guests, so
Yep.
It makes sense. All right. Mohib asks, what do you see the lead time for MTRs? Like you said, with insurance claims, are most of these bookings last minute?
Anybody that operates in the midterm rental space will say that a lot of times they are holding on to the edge of their seats, waiting for a booking to come in because, like I said, the secret sauce here is have an open calendar. And sometimes you might sit 2 or 3 weeks vacant, wondering when your next booking is. But once you get that booking, not only is it 2 to 3 times your normal monthly rent, but it's also between 3, 6, 9 months. So it's a catch-up game. So you need to have a little bit of guts to be able to manage in this space sometimes.
So, considering the fact that you have utilities and all the other expenses as well, typically, how many months do you rent this to kind of hit the long-term rental rate, let's say? Like, do you have to really rent it, let's say, 6 months of the year to meet the same income as a long-term rental?
Yeah,
Roughly
5 to 6 months.
Gotcha. Okay, so you have to be patient when it comes in, because knowing that, okay, 6 months is all it's going to take me, right?
Yeah.
So I think that you pay for utilities and provide gas or electric appliances. I think the answer is yes.
Yes.
How do you get the background checks and credit checks?
So with travel nurses, as long as they provide me with a copy of their contract, I don't even do a background check because they've already been background checked by the hospitals. When it comes to private guests, I use Avail, and Avail is so easy. You literally just put in their email address and it sends in the doc, or you have to set up your property and then you put their email address and it sends it to them so that they pay the fees. And you want to make sure it's about $50. And you want to make sure that every adult over the age of 18 is signing off on that and getting background checked.
Yeah, I mean, similar to what we do for long-term rentals,
Yeah,
really.
no different.
Yeah. Okay, what type of houses would attract these clients? 1-story, 2-story, number of rooms, square feet? Does the house have to be in a certain area, close to highways, corporates?
Wow, that's a lot of questions in one line. So as a real estate investor, me personally, I still believe in the number one golden rule of real estate investing, which is what, Kavita?
Location, location, location.
That's right. So I believe location is the one size fits all in midterm space, because not only are you close to great schools, great employers, major metro highways, that solves everything. So I think that opens up your opportunity to rent to all different kinds of people. Okay. Now, what was the other question? Is single story or one
Yeah.
story? I think that single stories are better than 2-story because, we are moving into an aging environment. So, a lot of people don't want to climb up and down stairs, or they're not capable of, or they don't want to anymore. There's also, single family homes are great, but I will say my favorite asset class is a duplex. Right?
Sorry, is any house too big for a short midterm rental? Like, let's say it's 2,500 square foot plus. Is that too big? Because is there some such thing as the right size in terms of square footage?
I think you have to look at the property and the area that surrounds it, right? So how insurance programs work, for instance, is they will give you a percentage of your loss of use. So say, for instance, you have a $400,000 house. They give you 25% or 20% of that number to be your annual spend on loss of use. So if you are living if that house is in an area where there's lots of 4 bedrooms, 2 baths, and 2,500 square feet, and there's a loss of use happening in that area, and there's lots of them around, I think it might be a good investment. But, single families can be hard because if you're not rented, you're also losing money. Whereas in a duplex, at least you're spreading your risk across 2 properties. And I do get asked why I like duplexes more than fourplexes. My personal opinion, and I could be wrong, but I think that duplexes are often located in better locations than fourplexes.
Do we even have fourplexes in Austin? Not too many of them around it.
We do. We have quite a few, but they're clustered, right?
I feel like in general, Austin has fewer duplexes at all compared to other cities that I've seen, especially compared to San Antonio. I don't find as many duplexes in Austin either.
Mm-hmm.
All right. What kind of lease should we have, since we cannot join you because we're not in Austin? Is there anybody you could direct her to? Maybe it sounds like she needs an attorney.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not an attorney, so I really can't comment on that one.
Okay. I think it would be helpful to find an attorney who does leases or who can work in the midterm space. What platform can we use to rent a given that she's not in Austin, what platform do you recommend for midterm rentals?
100%, you still need to use Airbnb. You set it for the 30-day stay minimum. Because at the end of the day, I still get, 50% of my bookings from them. You're not going to be able to avoid that.
Yeah. I mean, the only thing is tenants, the potential guests would have to pay a lot more on Airbnb than not, right?
Yeah.
But they're willing to take that at this point. So,
right.
All right, last question. Can you explain insurance claim?
Sure. Whenever there's a flood or fire or structural damage, like we had ice storms recently, about a month ago, actually, one of my ex-Apple colleagues called me and said, I need a place to stay because my house flooded during the ice storm. And it took 3 weeks for the adjuster to come out. And I'm finally able to get an adjuster to work with me. And he called me. He's like, let me stay in one of your houses. So just so happens that I had a property 1 block away from Apple and he was able to move into it.
That's
the insurance claim process I didn't answer is you need the guest has to have a loss of use policy, which most of them do, and it's often a percentage of that loss of use.
So do you get in touch with insurance companies directly, Vivian?
I do. Yeah.
So is it like the big ones, or do you target all of them? What's your strategy when you talk to insurance companies?
So every member that gets onboarded into our website, they get automatically put into the 6 largest databases for the insurance companies. And we also build relationships with, some of the corporate clients of those insurance relocation companies as well. Like we just placed one today for $5,500 a month. It's only 1 month right now, but it's supposed to extend up to 3 to 4 months. They just didn't want to commit for that long. But the property is only $1,800 for all expenses in. So this landlord's going to cash flow quite well.
Nice. Awesome. I think there are more questions coming in. I'll take one last one. And I think we are way over time here. And Vivian has been very kind hanging on and answering all the questions. So thank you for that, Vivian. How do you determine pricing?
Pricing, you kind of have to get a feel for it. I look in the MLS. There's a button where you can click for furnished housing. You can get an idea over there, as well as, do an analysis on Airbnb to find out how much people are charging per night and if they're offering any discounts. And you can also use RankBreeze. RankBreeze has a tool in there that shows 30-day listings to see what your competitors are. And then at the end of the day, the loose and fast rule, napkin math, is about 2 times normal long-term rent.
Okay, that's good to know. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Awesome.
That's my experience.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Vivian. This was very useful, and I hope you guys learned a lot. I know some of you guys have dropped off, but there'll be a recording on YouTube and also sent via email to you guys. So again, thank you so much, Vivian, for being here and sharing all this information with us. Excited to see you for the first time, and hopefully we meet each other in person soon.
Sounds great. I'd love to.
All right. Take care. Everyone, have a good night. Thank you for joining us. Hi, I'm Kavita Bartake. I hope you found this video useful. And if you did, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel so you can get notified of any future videos I upload. I plan to cover a lot of investor education on this channel, and I hope you'll stay with me for it. If you have any feedback on future content you'd like to see me cover, please drop me a note or a comment on my video. Thank you for watching, and thank you for supporting me.